Hey guys, this is Old Town Battery from Five Finger Death Punch, and you are listening to Oite Te Navi.
Now we're talking about your new album you're releasing this month, Best of Volume 2. And I want to know, where did the idea come from to re-record dead songs and include three brand new live tracks for this project?
So basically, it's a known story. We don't really, nagging on that. But what happened? It happens in the music industry all the time, where albums are the masters of albums being sold by the record label, and it happens all the time. So it's nothing weird. But this is something that the general public doesn't necessarily know, that behind closed doors, labels trade and sell these catalogs as commodities. And it happened to us. It happened to Taylor Swift. It happened to many artists. And Taylor Swift went ahead and re-recorded her entire catalog, and to basically to reclaim the power in some way. And so we saw that it happened to us, and you can make decisions. You can just take it, or you can do something about it. And we decided that, okay, well, if that's the case, that's a chess move on the board from our old label. Well, then we're gonna go ahead and re-record our masters, which we have the right to do. So that was a behind the scene situation anyway. However, it was our 20th anniversary, so we sort of looked at it like, well, this happened, and the saying that life handed you some lemons and you're going to make lemonade. So, well, this is us making lemonade, right? So
Mhm.
it was the 20th, it is the 20th anniversary. So we decided, like, well, we had to do something for the fans anyway. We wanted to do something special, and it just happened so that this situation gave itself to us, where we could go back to or enter history and pick out the songs that were the most popular, or more like the fan favorites, and just simply re-record them. And the re-record is gonna be a little bit different, because when you write a song, when you composing something, it's sort of, you're in a kitchen cooking, kind of, like you're putting a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's a creative process, where when we go back to the studio and re-recording these songs, it's more of a performance. So we kind of knew that it wasn't about trying to recapture that lightning. You can't. So you have to capture something else. And this was us capturing a little bit, almost as if it was live, because we were performing these songs. We were not writing them. So it has a little bit of a different energy. It has a little bit of a more raw, more of a performance-like energy. And also the songs that we are playing live, didn't play them hundreds of times. Live, things always evolve and change a little bit. So these are actually closer to the versions that we play live on stage. So that's what it became. So it served many purpose, And from our personal perspective, we got to revisit our past, which was a really interesting, self-reflection of realizing, like, man, we've been here for 20 years. That's insane.
Mhm. I'm sure that the fans are really looking forward to listen to this album. And this album, as you told us, is a celebration of the 20 years of the band. And I want to know, how do you see the evolution of the music of the band during this time?
Actually, it's an interesting question, because right now we are in a process of recording our 10th album. So this is, we just did, obviously the two best of compilations, but we're also recording an original album. And this is literally the conversation Ivan, our singer, and I'm having right now, of where are we going with this? Are we making an album that is sort of a revisit of our history? Like, should we make an album that sort of puts a bow on the top of what we have done before? Revisit the best of what we have done, the best of Five Finger Death Punch, and create one comprehensive album that sort of, recaptures our history. Is that what we should be doing? Or should we just keep moving and evolving, and do something new, do something else? Something else, I mean, you can't really go far away from your core sound. That's our sound. So it's not like we're gonna sound like jazz fusion anytime soon. But should we try to approach this new album like, hey, let's do something fresh and new completely? Maybe change a little, a tiny derivation and direction. And or a revisit. So that's literally that's a conversation right there. So the question that you have is the question that we have also, right? That where are we going right now? So we have 5-6 songs that we wrote so far, and doesn't mean that they're gonna be final or even stay. So we're just gonna keep writing and sort of feel it out. So right now, it is up in there. We don't know yet what this next thing gonna be.
Uh-huh, perfect. And the song The End is a collaboration actually with Baby Metal. And I'm sure this is one of the highlights of the record. How did this idea of working with them came from, and how was it to work with them?
We crossed paths with them a couple of times. They play big festivals. We play big festivals. So it happened that we were in the same bill. So we met them in Japan. We met them in England before. So we crossed paths before. Now, this was a very interesting thing how this came together. We started to talk about it actually over a year ago. The idea came about a year ago, and we knew that it's going to be unexpected. Like I don't think many people saw that this would happen. Baby Metal and Five Finger Death Punch. I don't think this was in anybody's prediction, so to speak. But it's about what this song was about. To me, especially personally, looking at it, this was the perfect possible combination, and this is why when we write songs, usually we write the music first, and then the music goes to Ivan, and then he writes the lyrics. Many times he asks us about what we were thinking, when we were writing his song, and sometimes he just picks up on the vibe, and he just goes on autopilot and just he knows what he's about. And so this song, to me, it has those giant guitar dive bombs in there and whatnot. To me, it was always. I always, I see music, when I write music, I kind of write soundtracks, almost like I see, pictures, visuals, movies in my head as I'm writing a song. And I'm a big fan of people who score movies, because to me, the music and the story has to be connected. And anyway, so I always saw this battle, like to me this was always a soundtrack to like a war scene, some ancient samurai war in my head, right? Because that you fight to the last breath, that honor code of the samurai, that was, to me, that's what this song was about. And so, and lyrically, when Ivan writes a song, he doesn't like to explain what the song is about, because he believes, and I agree with him, he believes that if he who wrote the lyrics tells you what the song is about, then he's going to lock the meaning of the song into one particular place. And that means you, the audience, no longer have the ability to hear the song the way you could possibly hear it. Now it means the same thing to you what it meant to him. And that's the beauty of music, that when you listen to something, you hear what you needed to hear at the time. So it means something else to you that it would mean to somebody else, right? That's kind of the point. And so he is very cautious of explaining his lyrics. However, when he comes to the studio, obviously, and brings the piece, at that moment, I'm also almost an outsider, right? Because I don't know what's in his head. So when he writes the song, it will mean something, just like it means something to you. It will mean something personal to me as well. And as I said, to me, the end and the lyrics of this, let the arrows fly. I saw the big battle of the samurai, right? And so now you can imagine when we started to collaborate with Sue, with Baby Metal, that they're gonna sing it in Japanese. Sue sang it in Japanese, so that, to me personally, put this together completely. So to me, this was perfect, right? And then we did the lyrics video, which we used that kind of imagery to begin with, right? So that completed the picture for me. Now, and still, what it means to Ivan and what it means to somebody else, again, it's really up to them. But I got a personal satisfaction from what this became. Beyond, I mean, it sounds awesome, and I think it was I see the reaction. The fans are blown away by it. We gained a lot of fans, people who listen to Baby Metal, not necessarily listening to Five Finger Death Punch. So both bands gained or at least was exposed to a different kind of audience, right? And very different audience. Yet it worked. So it can't be happier than I am for what this is.
And do you have plans to have more projects together? Maybe to do a concert together soon, or
That would be awesome. Like that would be a pretty cool tour. I mean, if it comes to Baby Metal, they playing giant places, giant arenas like we are. They have these stage sets, so that would be kind of a logistical thing because both bands have massive stage setups, and if we were to tour together, then we would have to figure out the logistics, like how, maybe it would have to be a rotating stage or something that can accommodate like a giant stage setup. We'll see. Like, we'll see if it would. I would be really happy to do that. We'll see if it happens.
yes. And in this process of revisiting these songs for this new version of the album, did you face any challenge?
Not necessarily challenge, but well, like I can call it challenge. As I said, it's very difficult to. It's almost like not just difficult. You shouldn't even attempt to recapture the magic of a song. That moment when you wrote the song, that moment is gone. It's never going to come back. When a song emerges and when you put it together, that moment is gone. You can't recreate that, and you have to be respectful as an artist. You have to be respectful to your own past and all the people who were involved, the producers, the past band members. So it's just, that's a sacred piece of art. So that's why we had to approach it differently, and we have to approach it from this perspective, like we're gonna perform this, so it's gonna have a different energy, and we are aware of that, and that is the point, that it's more of a performative thing where, as I said, it has a little bit of a live vibe to it. Obviously there is no audience noise, but I feel like the performance, especially the vocal performance, is more like how it would sound on stage. It's more live, so. But with that said, I think that is actually why this is interesting. So the fans have a different experience of the same songs that some of them lived with for 10, 15, almost 20 years basically. Some of those songs are revisited in a little bit of a different light, and then it was a cool little recapture of over 10 years history. And from the band perspective, it was a little bit like it gave us a little bit of, maybe the word is peace, like it's kind of like, man, look at this body of work. We had, crazy to say it, but we had 30 top 10 hits. These songs were, some of them were huge hits, and some of them were the live, some of the a soundtrack to people's lives, and the reflection of like, we've been here for this long and had this long career, survived, and we're not done yet. We're still working, we're still moving up, the audiences are still growing, so the band is still on an upward trajectory. So that's amazing. But it gave us a little bit of a piece of like, you know what, we did carve our name into, and it doesn't matter, you like us, you hate us, doesn't matter, our name is written into the book of heavy metal, the book of hard rock. We made, we carved out a piece. This is our history now, and our history is carved into the history of this genre, and that gives you a little bit of a piece, like, okay, we leave something behind, right? But with that said, we're not done yet. 10th record is coming, and who knows what else. So we still climbing.
And when you look back to over these 20 years of history and hear the new versions of the songs, which feeling is the strongest for you? Do you feel like nostalgia, celebration, or how do you feel?
So I would say that nostalgia, right? Because it brought back a lot of memories. So actually, we started to immediately talk about like, hey, we should probably make a documentary. Maybe we should, go back all the way to the very, very beginning. Find the guys that, like this band had many variations. When, in 2005, when I started the band, and as I was putting it together, we had members, the first band members, when the band was kind of just forming, who are, the general public doesn't even necessarily know about. And so we can go back all the way to the very beginning of the very, very first spark when this started, right? And go through the history of how it happened, what happened, not just for the recap, but also as an example for other bands, other artists, I guess, because there's this misconception in the world where they think that Five Finger Death Punch became successful pretty rapidly, almost unnaturally quick, right? And so that's always throw up some question marks. And many times I read crazy stuff where people think that this is something where the music industry put together this band, and that's how we succeeded. And and they rolled in a suitcase of cash, and and that's that's how this band happened. And that is the farthest from the truth. The first album was literally recorded I was in my bathrobe with my little coffee in my living room writing the songs, and that's how it happened. The first record was about 80% of the record was recorded in my living room, right? And then we signed to an indie label. We gave them the album. It was completely done. Photos were done. It was mastered, mixed, everything. So we gave them the album, put it out as is. And we were the only band on the label. And we were on this label for the first 7 records, but then we moved on. But we always been on an independent label. And we never had tour support. We never, we figured out on our own. Our merchandise paid for our tour, basically. So this was as much as a do-it-yourself sort of self-made thing as it's possible. Now we got a great management, and great people working with us and making it happen, but it was as organic as it can be, So that would be an interesting story to tell. That today, when people think like, well, I need to know these people, I need to know those people, I need all this help, I need all these line items to make it, right? Well, our first record it sold almost 1 million copies or something like that. And it was a homemade record. You did it in my living room. So this is, what I mean? So this is possible. So it would be an interesting kind of set the record straight, what happened, how it happened. It's an amazing story of Ivan's sobriety, He was a hand grenade with a loose pin, for the first, 15 years of the band's career. And then he got sober, all the trials and tribulations with that, all that could be a very interesting story. Most of it we hid from the press. Most of it, the people never knew what a crazy freaking ride this was. It was riding the bull for the first 15 years. And it would be an interesting story to tell. So as we were recording these songs, we started to talk about maybe we should do a documentary. So that might happen.
Mm-hmm. And to finish, can you send a message to your fans who are eagerly waiting to listen to this album?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, look, it's these guys, our fans, you guys, you were with us literally for 20 years. I think that's one of the insane thing about this band, that our fan base is a family. So we joke about it that we are the biggest unknown band because we have so many fans. I mean, almost every record went gold, platinum, and we playing giant arenas. And our fans know, and within this genre, this is well known, but not outside the genre. So we always joke about it. We are the biggest unknown band because we have this very tight-knit fan base, and without the fans, without this family that we have, this wouldn't have happened. And thank you for being with us all these years, man. And let's do another 10.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zoltan. Thank you for your time.
89, a Rádio Rock.